Let's jump right into things. All right, the big news for this week is the Storm Duck news and the stuff that's going on right now with the Penn State cornerback room. Duck was rated as one of the top transfers in college football for the season, and he seemed like the perfect replacement of Joey Porter Jr. And I've been hyping up Duck ever since we got him. All right, he was one of my players to watch in the blue-white game, and sure, we were losing JPJ, but bringing in Duck made it look like our cornerback room was hands down the best in the country. We weren't losing any production there, right? And all through winter workouts and spring practices, the coaches were raving about Duck and how impressed they were with him. And then the blue-white teams got released the day before the game, and Duck was on the white team, which essentially means he was behind Johnny Dixon on the depth chart at the end of the spring. And I don't know how closely you paid attention to Duck in the blue-white game, but he was just not very impressive to me. And on a day when defense dominated, I felt like Duck was just underwhelming. And I kind of brushed all that off, and I thought this was just because he was new to the team and that by the end of the fall, he would be our starting right cornerback. And then, surprisingly, he entered the transfer portal earlier this week. He spent only a semester with Penn State. He played in only the blue-white game, as in terms of games he played. And, at first I was confused when I saw this, but if you do think about it, it does make a lot of sense, because from the moment he came to Penn State, he was listed behind Dixon on every depth chart you could find online. And even when all the coaches were praising and lauding him for his hard work and efforts, they were giving hints that he was going to have to earn the starting role and pass Dixon on the chart. So, obviously Duck didn't want to try and earn that starting role through the summer and fall, and he wants to go somewhere else where he can get easy playing time. So sure, it's always disappointing having someone transfer out of your program, especially someone that you like and that you think is really good. Right? And I do think, though, that Duck transferring is the biggest possible compliment to Penn State's cornerback room, and especially Johnny Dixon. Dixon is someone who did look really good in the spring game, all right? And the fact that Anthony Poindexter and Manny Diaz think so highly of him to keep him ahead of Duck speaks volumes about what we have in him as a player and a person, all right? Because last season, Dixon played as a backup to JPJ, so whenever he was on the field, it usually meant JPJ wasn't. And he had a tendency to be over-aggressive to the ball and misread deeper routes and give up big plays, which was frustrating because you knew that if Porter was out there, he wouldn't have given up that big play. All right, but it was always obvious how great of an athlete Dixon was, and still is, right? He's even better now. And that if he could understand defensive schemes better and become more patient, that he could have become a really good cornerback. And as it turns out, the best minds in our program think that Dixon has made those strides and is now a better player than Duck is. And so he's going to be our starting right cornerback alongside Kalen King in 2023.